North Central owns the top offense in the nation after an 82-7 win at Elmhurst. And up next, Illinois Wesleyan. Head coach Jeff Thorne on the show to talk about that. We also get to chat with Bryan Beauchamp and Andrew Kamienski. All that and more is next inside the Cardinal Room on the Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of the Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
Welcome into the Red Zone. Jeff Thorne hopping on, and we're in the Cardinal Room today. And a quiet 6-touchdown day for Brock against Elmhurst. 82-7 the final, but it did kind of seem quiet. And all of a sudden, at the end of the day, 6 touchdown throws.
Yeah, we talked after the game. He wasn't the sharpest he's been all year either. There were some things that we saw on film, I saw in the game that we talked about that he can clean up here down the stretch, and he acknowledges it too. He knows. But it's his mind, it's his brain, it's seeing the defense, it's knowing where the ball needs to go, getting it out on time. Had a couple times we took one sack that he could have thrown the ball away. He knew that. But yeah, 6 touchdown passes in a half of football is pretty good.
2 to Kaminsky. Kaminsky now has 14 on the season. He's getting down and maybe going to break another record in that regard. The passing attack looks really good, but again, this is the second straight week where Brock has spread the ball around. So Nick Rummel, D'Angelo Hardy, Blake Williams, and Alex Rose all caught touchdowns.
Yeah.
As a coach, when you're able to reward your players the way that, and maybe scheming for certain players to get the ball, how nice is that to give those guys the opportunity to find the end zone?
Well, as far as scheming for guys to get the ball, we want to get our personnel. We want to work matchups as best we can. But having said that, our read progressions for our quarterback are what they are. And his job is to go through the progression, not lock on one receiver, because we may think we have a matchup here.
Yeah.
Coverage might rotate, or perhaps they put another guy over to handle Drew. You just never know. So you follow your progression, and then when the quarterback does that, the ball finds everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody has a piece of the pie, and there's a lot of value to that. And having the trigger guy that can do that is everything.
So on the 1 touchdown to Rummel, it looked like Brock maybe either signaled to something. I just assumed it was Kaminsky. They have that rapport, They just seem to be on the same brainwave. But Rummel was able to catch that football. And talking after the game, I think, who did I chat with? Greenfield. He goes, he's going to be something special.
Oh, yeah. He's improved immensely since he got here. Took 1 year off of football. Wasn't sure if he wanted to continue playing. He went to Iowa State as a student. His dad was a college teammate of mine, and really the reason that I chose to go to Eastern Illinois. He hosted me on my
Wow.
I've known Nick really his whole life. He's a great kid. A lot of the same attributes that made his dad a great player, he has too. He's extremely quick, great hands, runs great routes. Learning the offense was really the only thing holding him back early on. Now he's really getting comfortable with it, and you're starting to see all of his ability. Brock checked to that play down by the goal line, saw something, and that's a credit to him. Again, go back to, hey, here's what my job calls for. It doesn't matter who's where. I'm checking to this play because it'll work. And Nick caught a ball that Drew usually catches.
Yeah.
But he was in that spot,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then Ethan Greenfield, so I just mentioned him, but almost 400 yards rushing in the last 2 games alone. This guy, it seems like, and I've talked to him about this, that he's getting better. And usually you see guys make that jump in between seasons, but it seems like he's making these jumps in season, which is kind of interesting.
He missed 5 games last year, so in a lot of ways, those first 5 games of this year were kind of a continuation of that freshman year. Now you're seeing the maturation process that only happens with experience. And he's getting better and better and better.
Yeah, he said that every play he goes into and says, nobody's going to tackle me this time. And it just he's living through that.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about the defense because Zach Butler stepped in and led the team in tackles, had an interception, had one go through his hands, and he was like, oh no, and then he comes back and he grabs that one on the sideline. But nice effort from a guy, you always say, next man up, and he stepped up.
Really a cerebral player. He's extremely intelligent, one of our high-end academic guys, so you can put him on the field, know that he's going to do his job, regardless of where you put him. And trimmed his body down a little bit from a year ago, and he's moving faster and doing a great job for us. And it's always nice to have somebody like that. If things aren't going the way you want them to, you have somebody you can trust, you can throw in there at safety, and Zach did a great job.
And then the second unit got the entire second half. I'm sure that you guys were thrilled to see those guys out there playing football on the varsity level.
Yeah, and it's invaluable experience for those guys. When we get ahead in games, that's always been our approach. Go back to the days when my dad was here. It's, hey, get those guys out on the field, get them varsity live action, and that's where they can learn when the bullets are flying at their fastest.
Awesome. Well, we're going to check the tape, but we'll take a break first. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Arena Americas, specialists in providing full-service rental solutions for events and special occasions of all sizes.
Welcome back, and now it's time to check the tape. And Coach, first play I want to get to is the touchdown throw to the corner. And we talked about the one to Rummel, but this is another one, the first touchdown to Andrew Kamienski.
Yeah. I mean, it's like they can do it with their eyes closed or blindfolded, and oftentimes the defense knows exactly what's coming. It's just that we've said it so many times now on the show. They have such great chemistry, and Brock knows where Drew's going to be. Drew trusts that he's going to run the route, and the ball is going to be where it needs to be. And when those things come together, good things happen, and we're pretty happy with the results.
So we've seen a similar dynamic in the past, and Spencer Stanek and Pete Sorensen had that back shoulder fade where Pete would go up and high point the football. Pete was 6'4".
Yeah.
Andrew does this with agility and spacing. Is this a different skill set?
I mean, Pete was a great receiver, and he was a great route runner. There's an it factor with Drew where he just you can't guard him, and he just has the ability to work leverage and work half a man and get himself to where he knows where he's going and setting the defender up in a way that he's going to create separation. And that's a skill. It's hard to teach that. Yeah. He's had it from the day he showed up here.
Interesting. Second play let's get to is Ethan Greenfield. We talked about him in the opening segment. It was really difficult to find the play because he did this consistently on Saturday. But this 28-yard run took it off the right side of the offensive line and then just shed tackler after tackler all the way upfield. Yeah,
we saw that a week ago, and he's continuing to do that. We talked about his strength. We talked about his resolve. Ethan is just maturing before our eyes as a football player and really as a leader too. He showed a lot of that last year, had to miss those 5 games. Yeah. And now we're seeing kind of the end of his freshman year, those first 5 games, and now we're seeing him play like the guy that I saw on film in high school. And don't get me wrong, we had that as a freshman too.
Yeah.
But it's just going to another level right now. He's just full of confidence.
And he's the bell cow, so that's huge that he's made that leap. I also, in the same vein, want to talk about Jeff Thorne because we haven't really talked about that center position, but it looks like he's progressed. He's a freshman. I mean, he's out there. You just kind of threw him out to the wolves, and he's done a great job. He's
extremely mature, incredibly tough-minded guy that really worked his tail off in the summertime in the weight room. So we knew he was going to have a chance to help us. It was going to be a case of how soon can he learn the offense, and is he going to be able to move quickly enough to make that jump from high school to college football, and really being a little bit different offense. We throw the ball a lot more than what he was used to at Homewood Flossmoor. Yeah. And it's been so much fun to work with him. He's a great kid, got a great personality, and he's getting better and better and better. So, we've got a really good one in that freshman class.
Did you kind of have a roadmap provided by the way that you guys were able to install Sharmore a few years ago?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you look back, and you can go all the way back to Joe Fairley, who's one of our GAs right now, back in 2014, couple games in, Joe found his way onto the field. Yeah. The following year, Ricky Sturba, a couple games in, found his way onto the field as a true freshman. And then you've got Sharmore, and really we've had success with, you can't have too many freshmen up front, but usually one freshman has been able to do it. And Gerard, right from day one, he was out there against Christopher Newport, so that's really a testament to him.
Yeah, and it helps that he's got the support of obviously an All-American on one side and Ricky Sturba, 5th-year senior, who could very well be an All-American on the other side. So.
Absolutely. But, the difference is with all those guys, they were playing positions where they didn't have to communicate or be the initiator of the communication. Our center makes our calls.
Yeah.
So there's an added layer of responsibility that Gerard took on in coming here as a true freshman. So really can't say enough great things about what he's done and what he's meant to our program.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Last play, Bryan Beauchamp, the forced fumble. And this is something I know every football team, and in particular you guys, you want to get the turnover. And in this case, he forced the issue.
Yeah, Bryan was on the show early on in the season and got off to a great start in our first game, played really, really well, and then hit a little bit of a lull where he wasn't playing his best football. I think he realized it, but we had a conversation and challenged him a little bit, and his response has been nothing short of spectacular. He's played at just a really high level since that time, and a forced fumble on Saturday. Just one of our captains and one of those guys that you love to see succeed because you know what went into him getting to this point and how hard he worked, how much he bought into, what Cardinal football is about, and he's a great ambassador for our program.
So let's get to Illinois Wesleyan. This is the next game on the schedule, and it's a big game because the Titans, while they are in what you could say is a down year, they're still going to bring it against you guys. Yeah,
they're still talented. They're really talented. They've had some tough injuries. They lost their quarterback, but I'll tell you, the kid that's playing for them, number 9, is a really, really good player. He's really quick, throws the ball well, he's active both with his legs and with his arm. So we've got our work cut out for us. Their defense had a new coordinator come in, installed a new defense, and early on there, you could tell there was some growing pains with that, but they're starting to play at a really high level right now. Lead the conference in sacks, and they've got a couple players that are a real handful on the defensive line and then also at linebacker. So without question, we've got our hands full with the Titans coming to town.
Is it difficult in any sense with 3 games the way that you guys have just played? Because you guys have been able to kind of sit out the second half and allow your second to now try and re-engage that 4-quarter mentality? Yeah,
it's always a concern. It's a good question. Played a really, really good team, obviously, and a great team in Wheaton.
Yeah.
I thought Augustana showed up and played hard that first half in particular. And then since that game, we've had some games where at halftime our guys are kind of done, and we've got our second and third string guys that are getting on the field, which is great, but your starters not having been tested for 4 quarters, that's always a concern. So we'll have them ready.
Yeah. Oh, I don't doubt that one bit. Quick hit time. Let's get to this. And I think you're pretty interested in this question.
Yeah.
You get one professional autograph on one piece of memorabilia. Who is signing what?
It would be Walter Payton, and he would sign either a game-worn jersey or helmet. My son's name is Peyton, and my son's a quarterback, and he was born around that time that Peyton Manning was starting to become really special. So a lot of people thought it was Peyton Manning with an E.
Yep.
Peyton's Payton for Walter Payton. That's who we named him after.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, thanks for hopping on. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
and
Kevin.
Good luck against the Titans.
Thanks.
Coming up next, we have a couple of veteran guys. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Jimmy John's.
Second straight week, we get a defensive gem for our play of the game. This time, it's the captain, Bryan Beauchamp, with the forced fumble, ripping the ball out as he makes the tackle. It's one of 2 turnovers in the game against Elmhurst, and that's why it's the Red Zone's play of the game. Welcome back into the Red Zone. Andrew Kamienski, Bryan Beauchamp on, and guys, successful season to this point. You've completely erased the bad taste in your mouth from Wheaton. You guys have destroyed the last few games. Andrew, I want to start with you. The offensive numbers that you guys are putting up are kind of silly. They're kind of video game numbers, aren't they?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's just a credit to how much work we put in the offseason and how tight-knit bond we have on offense. We know when to have fun. We come out and have good practice every week. There's some days where the defense wins in our competition drills. There's some day when we win, and that's a testament to them making us better and us making them better as well.
Who's the toughest guy you go up against in practice?
Well, I don't get to go against Beasley much, but I hear about him. But I would have to say, for me, it's Dakota Cremines.
Yeah.
He really pays attention to the little detail and knowing how I stem and how I move a DB off the ball. So going against him in practice makes me better.
So he was in the receiving corps last year, so he really knows you.
Me a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So.
And then Brock, obviously putting up these numbers, and you and him have found the end zone together 14 times. Does it ever get old?
No, that feeling. No, that feeling. That's why you play the game. That feeling's awesome. But then to see him do what he's doing, and then knowing that I'm his kind of security blanket type deal, it's a good feeling knowing that he's got other options. But then knowing that when it's crunch time, you know when the ball, someone needs to make a play, to know that he's going to look to come to me, and I like to have that on my plate and like to have that weight on my shoulders. So it's been fun.
Yeah, so that defense as well has been flying around. You guys have been playing at an elite level in the last few weeks. You in particular have been really impressive being around the football and around the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. Have you felt maybe an uptick in your production the last few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I'm just finally getting back to, just playing the game of football like I have been growing up. I feel like in the beginning of the season I was maybe thinking a little bit too much, and that was kind of holding me back. And, just having Ben next to me and being able to kind of rely on each other to really just, motivate each other, calm each other down when we need to, and just being able to go out there and just have fun playing football with each other. That's probably the biggest thing. The whole defense has, as an entire unit, starting to get that feeling of man, we're just out here to play football, so let's go out here and just, play fast, play physical.
And then you ripped the football out this past week. It had to have been a fantastic feeling, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we talk about every single day, getting takeaways. That's a huge thing. Coach Durking's trying to instill in this defense. Mm-hmm. We talk about that literally every single day. So to be able to go out there and do it, on Saturday when the lights are on, that's a great feeling.
How pumped up was your positional coach, Coach Sinclair?
He's a pretty even keel guy, but he gave me a fist bump and said, "Hey, good job." He basically just kind of said, "That's what we do. That's what we're supposed to do." So he's a pretty even keel guy.
That's fantastic. And then so going back to the offense, I know this isn't your area of expertise, but Ethan Greenfield has been remarkable, 400 yards almost in the last 2 games alone, and he's not doing it just by running free. He's running through people. How fun is it to watch this guy go to work?
It's unbelievable, especially blocking on the perimeter. When he extends a play, he breaks a couple tackles up front, and then we're on the perimeter blocking. Sometimes we're in the middle of a block where usually the play would be over, and we have to look over our shoulder, and he's still running. So, he's unbelievable. He's nothing but a workhorse, and it's awesome playing with him.
That offensive line seems like it's come together, too. Have you gotten that sense?
Yeah. We had our struggles early on, clearly, but then since that tough loss, I think they've all just buckled down and said, okay, yeah, we have things we need to work on. We know our strengths. We know each other's weaknesses. And they've come together really good. And you see them holding each other accountable now.
I think Brock has been hit. Not sacked, but maybe hit 3 times since that game, which is fantastic. Yeah. Obviously, you want 0.
Yeah.
Brock wants 0. Mm-hmm. But
yes, you ask Brock, he'll take the blame for a couple of those.
Really?
Yeah.
And then defensively, I want to ask you about one guy in particular, Cam Martin. So this guy started as maybe a second-string defensive tackle, has been elevated to the starting role, and he looks like he's showing up week in, week out. Can you kind of talk about his production?
That's just a product of Cam putting in the work, man. He's been one of those guys that, maybe had not got the limelight that some other guys have. But, I worked out with him, in the offseason sometimes, and, the guy just goes to work every single time we're in the weight room. He puts in the work. He does, he does exactly what he's supposed to every single day, and he just kind of keeps his head down and keeps working. So it's great to see him, kind of get that spotlight, get the production that, is deserved from him. He's put the work in, so it's awesome to see him kind of reap the benefits of it.
Illinois Wesleyan coming to town next, and this is your last home game of the season, regular season at least. I'm sure you guys are getting up for the Titans, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I like playing these guys. We finally get to have that fourth quarter mentality, like we're going to play through halftime. So that's always fun to prepare for, and finally get a nice physical game in. I feel like I haven't played football in forever. It's crazy to think, but now I'm excited, and all the guys are excited, looking forward to this one.
How about you guys on the defensive side?
Yeah, we're amped up for it. It's finally a good opportunity to play a opponent that's, maybe not on the same level as us, but someone that's definitely way better than the teams that we played before. We're always amped up to play Illinois Wesleyan. They don't like us much, and we don't really like them much. So it's always a fun time, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Have the normal boys been talking about it?
They try not to mention as much as they can. They try to stay away from the whole Illinois Wesleyan stuff. But those guys, they're pretty level-headed. So, but I'm sure deep down they get a little amped up for this game.
All right, here we go. Quick hit time. Andrew, we'll start with you. Let's go with your favorite snow activity as a kid.
As a kid, playing in the snow was always just either playing just tackle football with your buddies in the snow, or just a one big snowball fight after school. Yep. Those were my 2 things to do in the snow.
Football in the snow is way better. It feels a little softer when you hit the ground.
Yeah, you get all your backyard buddies in, and you just play till parents call you in for dinner.
There you go. Yep. Perfect, yeah. How about you, Brian?
Something that I did a lot growing up, especially in the snow, is me and my brother would always build an igloo. I don't know why we did it, but we always just try to pile as much snow we can and then try to dig it out and build, an igloo that we could go in there and sit in. Like, we wouldn't even do anything. We'd literally get done with it and we'd just sit in there for a little bit and then be like, all right, time to go inside.
Cold.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing we did growing up.
That's fantastic. Bryan, we'll start with you for this one. You get one professional autograph on one piece of memorabilia. Who is signing what?
So a lot of my friends are probably going to hate me for saying this, but I'll probably go with Peyton Manning on like a game-worn jersey. Yeah. So Indianapolis kid. I grew up watching Peyton Manning, so that was always, a really awesome thing to be able to grow up watching one of the greatest.
So Andrew, how about you? Who's signing what?
For me, I'd have a game-worn jersey signed by Torrey Holt. He was idol of mine growing up. I wrote children's books on him when I was in elementary school. I have Pee-wee jerseys of me wearing his jersey. I don't know why, but I'm a big Rams fan, so he's always been an idol of mine, and that's who I would choose.
Greatest show on turf.
Yep.
That was a fun offense.
Yep, him, Isaac Bruce.
So why Holt and not Bruce? Was it the speed element there?
Yeah, for me it was more just Torrey Holt did it. He did kind of a similar play, but Torrey Holt, I don't know why it was him. I just always, when I was a young kid, just always went to him instead of Isaac Bruce, even though Isaac Bruce, they're both Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
But Torrey Holt was just always my favorite.
That was a great team to pick on Madden, by the way.
Yeah.
That was, Andrew, we'll start with you for this one. And actually, we'll just go with both of you. You guys can both answer at the same time. Is chili a soup?
I couldn't even really answer that one. Because you can put a chili on a hot dog. You can eat it right there itself in the bowl. So, I don't know. I think, personally, it's got to have its own separate category.
So, no.
Yeah, I mean, like we talked about off camera, like, is hot dog a sandwich? It's something like that. I mean, it's just so commonly associated with soup that I'd probably put it in the soup category, even though, like Andrew said, it's probably not necessarily a soup. But, I mean, I don't know. I guess by it being associated with soup so often, I just put it in the same
like
soup
we said,
category.
You're not putting chicken noodle soup on a sandwich.
I don't know.
You could put chili on a sandwich or a hot dog, and it's not bad.
I don't know.
I'm guessing you're not a fan of chili dogs?
Once in a while.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm not a huge fan of hot dogs.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's the tailgating food of choice then?
A brat.
Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense. Well, guys, this was a riveting debate. So thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we'll go to the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
I thought soccer's not for me anymore. Started playing football. I had a passion for it. Moved to Texas for a year and played down there for O'Connor.
Magnus Mayer is a freshman kicker on the North Central football team, but his backstory has a twist. He's from Norway and plays for his brother Jonathan.
After he got 5 concussions and we moved back to Norway, I decided to achieve that dream for him and come over here and play for him.
Mayer is one of a number of Norwegian players now lacing up in Cardinal gear. Elmar Eng is another on the North Central men's soccer team and also originates from Nesbru, Norway.
A lot of the other places was like in the middle of nowhere, basically. So here we have a nice downtown close to Chicago, and yeah, it's easy to fly in and out and get to Norway.
Eng is a junior, and he's joined on the roster by Alexander Augustin, Lucas Munchausen, and Andreas Rayan. For families of these players, watching them from across the ocean isn't always easy.
Usually it's in the middle of the night. My mom wakes up sometimes. She's going to watch tonight. My dad usually sleeps through, I think. They come and visit from time to time too.
North Central has become a hub for student athletes from international origins. And it goes back to something very simple.
Whenever I came over here for my visit, I visited a couple of schools, and North Central impressed me with the winning because I want to be a winner.
The Norwegians and the Swedish guys are kind of sticking together. We have a golf player now as well, so it's fun to see that we're starting a little colony over here.
Welcome back into the Red Zone. Clark Tusser joining me on set, and what an exciting night on Tuesday night for the women's wrestling team. They open up at home and to a rousing crowd. I mean, that place was loud, and they performed in front of the home fans.
Yeah, I think we had a bigger crowd for the women's meet than the men's meet. Certainly a lot of our other female student athletes definitely showed out for that occasion. There were at least 4 of them that attended as teams, as a full group. And they got their money's worth. It was a match where we started out at a disadvantage because they had about 3 weight classes where we didn't have a wrestler because it's the first year, but wound up coming up with a victory. With almost as many points as it was possible to score. Just in terms of the bonus points for pins and technical falls and things like that. So definitely a charged atmosphere, and they responded to it.
And then the men took the mat afterwards, and you could say cleaned up the mats as well. They're off to a pretty good start too.
It was a sizable win in the opener. Figured that might happen. A lot of excitement surrounding that program as well. In terms of a top to bottom all 10 weight classes, it could be a very formidable dual meet team this year.
We talked to Joe Norton after the women's meet, but I think he's probably the most ecstatic coach on campus right now because he's got 2 programs that just have so much momentum behind them.
And it's only beginning to pick up now that the women's team's actually had a chance to compete. There's something additional to show, recruits for next year's team, which there were some of those in attendance as well on Tuesday night.
Let's get to cross country, and what is it now? 46, right?
46
for the men's team. Just another spectacular race.
Yeah, 1 through 8 out in front, and really after with Matt Osmulski out in front as the conference champion, certainly a fitting award for a guy who really kind of was the linchpin of making sure everything worked as a leader this year. But everybody else was within about 10 seconds of each other right behind him, as if it was a practice or something like that. But definitely accomplished the goals that were set there to win the championship and to have everybody enjoy that time together to compete at the same place. And now they're going to move on further into championship season and whittle down the roster to the 7 guys that are going to run at regionals and nationals in a couple of weeks. So
be a hard choice.
A lot to go on, and really they've got all the data that they can have, and now it's just going to be a matter of intuition of which group is going to perform the best as a whole.
And then the women's team, a pretty good performance. They came in second place. They wanted to come in first, but they had the top overall finisher.
Diane Barajas came in first, and that certainly we knew it was going to be a competitive meet within the top 3 teams or so, and it was that. Yeah. Wheaton had an excellent race, but their 3, 4, and 5 runners, it's kind of what sealed it for them. And we knew that was going to be an issue because for most of the season we've been without the full squad on the starting line. So. Certainly congrats to them, but a chance to really finish off the season strong with at the regional meet coming up, and should be a contender to get to nationals as well.
Now, men's and women's soccer are in the playoffs. They're in the conference tournament. The men had the honor of hosting one of the games. Really came down to the wire as to whether or not they were going to host, but fortunately they came out in that number 2 seed. A pretty good year, regardless of the result of that tournament. Pretty good result for both teams this year.
Certainly, this is the first time that we've actually been in both tournaments in the same year. And certainly under the current tournament format, it's the first time we've had a chance to host a game for the men. And they kind of had to sit around Saturday night and wonder if that was going to happen. And it really did come down to the final seconds of a game that didn't involve them. So that had to be a little unnerving, but they get to play one more time at home, give themselves a chance to try and compete in a championship game for only the second time. 2015 was the last time we made it to the championship round. So definitely a lot to play for. There's going to be a NCAA tournament announcement on Monday, so we're hopeful that that's going to be relevant for us midday on Monday.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Yep.
All right, let's get to the quick hit. And I think this is exciting too. Is chili a soup?
That's a question for the ages, isn't it, man? That's I don't think it is. I think that's a very different argument depending on where you are in the country.
Fair.
But being here in the Chicagoland area and seeing the form that chili has taken on when you're in this part of the country, I don't think you can count it as a soup. It's definitely a heartier meal, and it's pretty versatile. It ends up on a lot of things. So I don't think you could take soup and put it on a hot dog or something like that. So
I think I'm in agreement with you because that exact reason you can't put chicken noodle soup on a hot dog.
That's correct.
Well, you could.
You could. You just really shouldn't. So, but yeah, I don't think you can classify that one as a soup. I think it's its own thing.
All right. Well, interesting discussion. Clark, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Red Zone. Illinois Wesleyan comes to town this weekend. We'll have the broadcast, 12:45 pregame, 1 o'clock kickoff from Benedetti Worley Stadium. Until next week, I'm Kevin Jackman, and this has been the Red Zone.